Good evening, everyone. We're so glad to have you back with us. We really enjoy doing this show. We try to bring so much information to all the people in Nye County and around Pahrump. And primarily we talk about some of the things that are happening in Pahrump, but this is really for all of Nye County. Today we're going to be talking about some transportation issues, and we have with us Salli Kerr, who is the chairperson of the Transportation Committee.
Morning.
Salli, good to have you with us again.
Nice to be here.
I know we've had you on the show before.
Yes.
And we're going to have you on the show a lot of times just to keep everybody informed of what's happening in the world of transportation.
Well, we appreciate having the opportunity to be here for sure and to let people know what's going on out there.
So we're going to tell everybody, be sure to have pencil, paper, write down some of the information that Salli's going to be giving today. We normally have Albert Bass with us today, but what happened with Albert?
Albert is in a meeting out of town today, and so was sorry to not be able to be here, but had to be at a meeting outside.
Well, I'm going to say this, and Albert can watch this on when this airs, and know that if Albert was here, we'd probably need more time.
Right.
Because he loves to talk. so this way, we'll let Salli give all this information, and this is information that you really need because we're really, truly looking at transportation here in the town of Pahrump. And later on, we'll talk about how it's going to expand. But Salli's going to be giving you all of that information. But first, we're going to start off with something else. We've been looking for transportation for veterans for a long time. And I know Salli was one of the people that was instrumental in getting this other program started. So Salli, tell us about VetTrans.
So VetTrans is now almost a year old, and that program grew out of, actually a group in Utah gave us a set of buses that we were going to be able to use for public transportation, and one of those buses was transferred to the VetTrans program and became the bus that started originally with VetTrans, and that program gives free transportation to veterans for any kind of medical either appointments or to pick up prescriptions.
Okay.
Anything that is a suitable medical appointment or service, that VetTrans bus will give that veteran and a caregiver transportation to and from.
How do they get to the bus? Do they have to go to a bus stop and wait for it? Or?
They do not. The VetTrans bus will pick them up at home. It's actually
at their home.
At their home. And so there is a number they call for dispatch, and that number is actually right there for you on your screen right now.
Okay.
And they call that number, and that dispatcher will help them with getting their address, where they need to be taken, what time their appointment is, and then that same driver will also pick them up at the end of that appointment and return them home.
Okay. Where are some of the places they can go for medication?
Well, of course, they can go to any local pharmacy, so they can go to CVS, they can go to Walgreens, they can go to Walmart, they can go to Smith's, wherever they typically have their medications filled. They can certainly be taken to the vet clinic. Obviously, a lot of folks go there.
Okay.
And then any other medical appointments that fall under medical appointments. So in this community, that can be really diverse.
Now, is this strictly for the veteran only?
VetTrans covers veterans only, yeah, and somebody that can travel with them.
So a caregiver? A
caregiver or spouse can go with that veteran to help with that situation. I do know that our drivers will also be very helpful with, if they're taking someone to Smith's for a prescription, they certainly would allow that person to do a little shopping or something as part of that trip.
So if they're coming, say they're going to pick up medication at one of the pharmacies and they come back with grocery bags as well, they're not going to be penalized because they went shopping? They
are not. That's actually part of the program, and I think it has up to 5 bags or something. But our drivers are very pleased to be helpful in that regard.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
And you say it's been in effect now for about a year.
Yeah, we're coming up on a year, and it has grown certainly from what was originally one rider.
Okay.
I mean, everything starts with one rider. It's now up over 80 veterans are using that program.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And there were over 100 rides given in the last month.
So it's really growing by leaps and bounds.
Growing by leaps and bounds.
And we're still trying to get veterans informed of what's going on.
Right. So this is a really important. The important part of this is tell your neighbor and your friends that are veterans.
Listen carefully.
The best way for us to gain ridership and for people to get access to the services, if you have a friend or neighbor, family member that's a veteran, tell them about the service.
Okay. I like the fact that not only veterans, but the caregivers that travel with them as well.
Right. And we see that a lot. And there's no reason for their spouse or caregiver to not go with them. That's
Okay.
certainly, we want them to be included and be helping that veteran in even that way.
So we have the veteran that can go and pick up medication or a medical appointment.
Right.
So if they're seeing a doctor, say on the choice program, that would not be at the VA clinic, and the VetTrans bus would take them there.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we do not
So
have-
non-VA or VA.
That's correct. We do not have that it has to be a VA medical facility. It can
Okay.
be any medical facility.
So some of the other transportation that's available to veterans, it would only go to VA clinic.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, which is why we all need, why it's so important that we all be working together.
Yes.
Because there are times when that might be more appropriate for them to ride a bus that would only go to a VA clinic.
Okay.
And again, as the more we talk together and learn to work together, the better we are at providing service across the board.
You know, we really need to continue to increase the use of the VetTrans bus and the VetTrans program, because again, it's for veterans, it's something created for veterans, and it's working.
Well,
I like the fact you said they just call a number and they come to the house and pick them up.
right, and as you talked about early on in the even in the intro about programs growing, the VetTrans is a really good example of how a program can grow. So it started with one rider in Pahrump. It now has 80 riders, and we'll go to Amargosa, we'll go to
Okay.
Beatty to pick people up on scheduled days, and we'll also go into Vegas 4 days a month. So it goes into Vegas, I think it is Monday and Friday, the first and third Mondays and first and third Fridays. The
Okay.
dispatcher could tell them what days, and then once that veteran knew what days they were, they made their appointments on those days.
Oh, fantastic.
This can take them, again, not to just the VA clinic, but to wherever they're going in Las Vegas for a medical appointment.
Okay. This is exciting, and we want to make sure that everybody's aware of it. So as Salli said, be sure to tell your friends, your neighbors, anybody that you know is a veteran or a veteran caregiver, because that's what the program is all about. And we want to make it work, but we want to keep it going.
Right.
Now, how far in advance do they need to call?
24 hours, and they can even call a few days before that if they know they have an appointment coming up. But at least 24 hours allows them to map out a route for the day.
We usually know for VA appointments and for almost any doctor's appointment, we know way in advance when we have that appointment. So 24 hours is not inconceivable.
No, it's actually pretty easy to call 24 hours in
Okay.
advance, and that just gives them time to map a route out of who all needs to be picked up and stuff on that day.
And if you want to pick up medication, well, of course, it's not an emergency, so you're going to pick up your medication 24 hours in advance. That's good.
Right. Yeah, no, it has been a great service, and we are seeing it grow. We're seeing not only in ridership, they're now adding another vehicle to be able to take people for rides. So while the bus is in Las Vegas, there was another vehicle to do things locally. It's growing leaps, and it really is growing leaps and bounds, and it certainly is not meeting all of the need. We know that there are veterans out there that are still not taking advantage of this service.
Because they're unaware of it, and we're still trying to get that word out.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So the other thing is we've taken the buses out to events. We try and take the VetTrans to the Veterans Extravaganzas and the Stand Down, and we make
Okay.
sure that they get to some of the shows that are going on. So encourage people to come have a look at it, come walk through the bus, and feel comfortable with the people that are working it. And it really does give a level of comfort when you walk up and when you see it. We want people to be familiar and come enjoy it.
What happens if you have a wheelchair?
It is wheelchair accessible. It has a ramp.
Oh,
Yeah, it's wheelchair accessible.
okay. When you say a ramp, that's that elevator?
Yes.
Okay, the elevator takes it in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's ready.
It is ready. It is running. It is ready. It is growing. We are so pleased to have it.
Have you had any surveys of people telling you, look, I really appreciate the program, or this is how you can make it better?
We do have surveys. We actually ask writers and to provide those surveys to us. And of course, the dispatcher gets a lot of feedback.
Okay.
And drivers too, for that matter, get a lot of feedback about how much that meant to them.
Okay. Well, that's the VetTrans program that we're talking about. And we want to emphasize how important it is that you notify your friends, your neighbors,
Right.
anybody that you know is a veteran or a veteran caregiver. It's so important that the information's on the screen. You can write that number down, call. If you need an appointment with a VetTrans for transportation, just give them 24 hours notice and it'll be picking you up at the home. Now, I know there's so many other things that we want to talk about, and we may have to wait until next session to cover some of it, but there's also transportation here for the town of Pahrump, and we'll expand that out later.
Correct.
Can you tell me where we are? And you have about a minute to do that.
Okay, we are just beginning the grant cycle for that.
Okay.
And that grant is due in a matter of days. And that is funded on a fiscal state year, so that would mean that the service would begin in October, the funding would begin October 1.
Okay.
And we are as close as we have ever been, certainly, to having public transportation.
I love the way you said that. We are as close as we have ever been
Yes.
in getting public transportation for the town of Pahrump that will later expand to other parts of Nye County.
Right, and that plan is written with the specific in mind, being able to move out to Tonopah, to Amargosa, to Beatty. Like that outreach is part of that plan.
I hope you're listening to this. This is fantastic. Now, of course, I'm going to tell you to come back for the next session because we're going to expand all the conversation we're having about public, local transportation. There's a lot to hear, there's a lot to talk about, and we want you to know all about it. So again, for VetTrans, you have the number, you know how to get in touch with them. For local transportation, we're going to give you all that information as well. Remember, there are grants available. We have so much support from a lot of people in the entire county, businesses, individuals. We're going to make this happen. Yep. So we want you to come back for the next session and hear all about it. Thank you.